Hi, third graders. We are back with the rest of our reading of The Dreamcatcher. Yesterday, we started reading the story and answering questions and finding text evidence. Today, we're going to finish reading through the story and answering the questions. So, you'll need to have your Reader's Writer's Companion book, a pencil, and an eraser if you have one. If you need a minute to get those items, you can pause the video and go grab them now. Now that we have our book, you're going to open up to page 39. We left off by reading how our main character had an issue where he had to make a presentation for school. But he was really stressed out and worried that he didn't have anything to share. So he met up with his grandmother, Nakomi's, and asked her if she had any advice for him. Last we left off, Nakomi's handed him a box and it had an wooden hoop inside that had all these strings and beads on it. So let's continue reading and see what happens.
"This is a dream catcher," said Nakomi's. "Our people have made these for many years. Circles are symbols of unity and strength. Let's hang it over your bed tonight. It will catch your bad dreams in the web, and your good dreams will fall through the center. Maybe it will give you courage to do your presentation." "Can I take this one to school?" asked Peter. "No, Bayan," said Nakomi's. "This dream catcher is precious. I got it when I was your age, and it means a lot to me."
All right, so with this new page that we've started, we learned that the item that has the wooden hoops and strings is called a dream catcher, which brings us back to the title, The Dream Catcher. Before we get started on our questions, I went ahead of time and I just numbered the paragraphs so that we have them to reference as we're answering our questions. I just want to bring your attention to this strangely formatted first paragraph. The author and illustrator decide to work together to give it this artistic feel where the words curve around the illustration. Not all texts do this. This was just an artistic choice by the author and illustrator to make sure the words didn't block the illustration. I know that this is all one paragraph because of, again, there was this indent where I put the one to label or to number rather. And it goes and goes and goes down. And then you can distinctly see how they indented far enough where you could see that this is a new paragraph starting. And then again, down here, there's another indent where they're starting a new paragraph. So even though this is all curved and looks a little strange, they try to let us know that this is one paragraph and these are both separate by continuing a regular format down in the second and third paragraphs. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention that sometimes artists and authors will do some artistic things with the illustrations and words. Okay. So for our first question, it's going to be found in paragraph 1. So this big paragraph here, and it's going to be about dialogue. Now remember, boys and girls, dialogue is the words that the characters are saying. So we typically see the dialogue of our characters in between these little marks called quotation marks. So you can see that this whole first sentence is dialogue. It starts with a quotation mark. The sentence is the words of our character, and then it ends with another quotation mark. So the question says, circle what Nakomi says they will do with the dream catcher. I'm going to pause there before I read the rest of the question. This is a 2-part question, so we're going to take it one part at a time. So we're going to go in and we're going to reread paragraph 1, And we're going to circle what Nakomi says they will do with the dream catcher. This is a dream catcher, said Nakomi's. Our people have made these for many generations. Circles are symbols of strength. Let's hang it over your bed tonight. It will catch your bad dreams in the web, and your good dreams will fall through the center. Maybe it will give you courage to do your presentation. So the question says, what are they going to do with the dream catcher? Well, down here in the text, it says, let's hang it over your bed tonight. So that's what they're going to do with the dream catcher for now. So find the sentence and circle it. It says, let's hang it over your bed tonight. Now, the next part of this question says, write what Nakomi's tells Peter the dream catcher will do. So if you remember in this part, it says right after where they say where they're gonna hang it, it says, it will catch your bad dreams in the web, and your good dreams will fall through the center. And then she goes on to say, maybe it'll give you courage for your presentation. So we're going to say that and write that on the line. Let's go ahead. We'll say, it will catch his bad dreams and maybe give him courage. All right, go ahead and write that in. It will catch his bad dreams and maybe give him courage. Okay. All right, so the next question focuses on paragraphs 2 and 3. So these two short paragraphs here. And it wants us to make inferences. So remember, boys and girls, when I talked about inferences a couple weeks ago, an inference is when you take what you know in your brain and what you just read in the story, you put those together and you make an inference. So let's read the question and make our inference. What we know in our brain and what we just read, you put it together, you make an inference. The question is, why doesn't Nakomis want Peter to take her dream catcher to school? Okay, let's reread and see if we can figure out why Nakomis doesn't want Peter to take her dream catcher to school. Can I take this one to school? Asked Peter. No, Bayan, said Nakomis. This dream catcher is precious. I got it when I was your age, and it means a lot to me. So the inference we can make is it's precious to her because she got it when she was really young. And if you take something into school, I know in my brain that sometimes when you take things into school, it can get lost or somebody could accidentally break it. And she doesn't want her dream catcher, which she's had since she was such a little kid, to get lost or broken. So that's my inference. I know in my head that sometimes things get lost or broken in school, and I'm reading that she says it's precious to her and she's had it a really long time. So I'm going to put those two ideas together and I'm going to make the inference that because it's precious to her, she doesn't want it to get lost or broken. Let's type that answer in. Her dream catcher is precious. She does not want it to get lost or broken. So again, I'm inferring that she doesn't want it to get lost or broken. Go ahead and write that in. If he can't take it to school, I wonder what they're going to do about his presentation. Let's keep reading and find out.
Peter felt disappointment because he wanted to share the dream catcher with his class. "We could make you one," said Nokomis. "I'd like that," cried Peter. Nokomis and Peter worked together and made a dream catcher. That night, as he gazed and looked at the dream catcher over his bed, he made a plan. The next morning, he told Nokomis his plan. "I'm going to show my class how to make a dream catcher," he said.
Oh, that's a good idea. They're going to make one for him so he has his own. So let's read and answer our questions. The first one is focusing on paragraphs 1 through 3. So 1, 2, and 3, all of those paragraphs. And again, we're going to focus on dialogue, the talking parts of the characters. Draw a box around what Nokomis tells Peter they could do. How does Peter respond? So let's reread to find what Nokomis tells Peter they could do. Peter felt disappointed because he wanted to share the dream catcher with his class. "We could make you one," said Nokomis. "I'd like that," cried Peter. So here is what Nokomis said that they could do. So I'm going to draw a box around this part of the character's dialogue, Nokomis' words. Then the second part of the question says, how does Peter respond? He says, "I'd like that," cried Peter. So let's type that in for our answer. So Peter says that he would like that. Go ahead and write in your answer. Pause if you need to for more time, just like always. So let's look at the next question. This question focuses on paragraph 4. So we would 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can label those too. The question is about context clues. It says, circle the word that helps you figure out what gazed means. The word gazed. Nokomis and Peter worked together and made a dream catcher. That night, as he gazed and looked at the dream catcher over his bed, he made a plan. So when we use context clues, we have to figure out something that we might not understand or know, especially when it comes to certain words. We have to look at the words and sentences around the part we're not sure of. When we look at the sentences or the words around what we're trying to figure out, we can get clues as to what it might mean. So this word gazed, it says, that night as he gazed and looked at the dream catcher over his bed. So this word, this sentence helps us understand what the word gazed means by following it up with another word that means something similar. So as he gazed and looked means the same as gazed. You're giving a stare. So I'm going to circle this word looked. Go ahead and circle it in your book as well. The next question focuses on paragraph 5. Again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's about sequencing. And the question is, when does Peter tell Nokomis his plan? So let's read and find out. The next morning, he told Nokomis his plan. "I'm going to show my class how to make a dream catcher," he said. So when does Peter tell Nokomis his plan? Well, it says it right here, the next morning. So let's write that in our answers, the next morning. That's when he told his grandmother. Go ahead and write that in. Then it asks us to underline or text evidence, and that's a right there question. So we don't have to infer, we don't have to use context clues. We can see it plain as day right here. It says, when does Peter tell his grandmother the plan? And then right here, the next morning, he told Nokomis his plan. I can see words in the question that match the words in the text. Peter tells Nokomis his plan. He told Nokomis his plan. Okay? Let's continue reading.
That's a great idea, said Nokomis. Let's celebrate after your presentation. I will bake corn cookies, and we will have a traditional Ojibwe party. Peter shared his dream catcher with his classmates and showed them how to make their own. Peter didn't feel nervous or scared at all. He felt pride in his culture. He felt pride in himself, too.
All right, so the first question on this page is in paragraph 1, and it's about dialogue. It says, what does Nokomis think of Peter's plan? Underline what she says to Peter. So here it says, that's a great idea, said Nokomis. So our answer is the first thing in this paragraph. So let's go ahead and underline what she says to Peter. The first part of dialogue on this page. The next question says, and that's also we're going to find in paragraph 1, it's about visualizing, trying to create a picture in your brain from the words of the author. So it says, write something Nokomis and Peter will do at their party. So let's keep reading. It says, let's celebrate after your presentation. Okay, so the celebration is the party that they're referring to. Let's keep reading. I will bake corn cookies and we will have a traditional Ojibwe party. All right, so it's asking, write something Nokomis and Peter will do at their party. Well, they're going to bake corn cookies. And so this helps me to see what kind of cookies they're going to be eating. I'm not going to visualize chocolate chip cookies if they're saying they're baking corn cookies. And I'm also going to circle the rest of this sentence as well, because they're saying they're going to have a traditional Ojibwe party, which might look a little bit different than what a party might look like for somebody who has a different culture. So let's type in our answer. So they're going to make corn cookies and have an Ojibwe party. Go ahead and write that in. Okay, once you have that written in, it says circled text evidence. We already did that. And let's go on to the final question. And this is going to be found in paragraph 2. It's on sequencing. Draw a box around 2 things Peter does at school. So as we reread, let's look for those 2 things. And we'll draw a box around them. Peter shared his dream catcher with his classmates and showed them how to make their own. Oh, I think that the 2 things are in our first sentence. It's combining both ideas with this word and. Let's keep reading, see if we can find something else, but I'm pretty sure that's where we're going to go back to. Peter didn't feel nervous or scared at all. He felt pride in his culture. He felt pride in himself too. So we were right. It's right. The first 2 things in this sentence. So we're going to draw a box around what he does at school, which is Peter shared his dream catcher with his classmates. And the second part is he showed them how to make their own. All right, boys and girls, I hope you have enjoyed the story called The Dreamcatcher. I hope you have learned a lot about dialogue, visualizing, and sequencing. We even talked about context clues and inferencing. You could always go back and rewatch any of these videos if you need to go back and fill something in or refresh your memory about a skill. All right, boys and girls, bye for now.